How's it hanging, dudes? My name is Sean. Welcome back to my channel where we put humanity first, and we like to, make fun of the mainstream media a little bit. And my phone's already dropping notifications in the middle of a video. Man, I need to turn that thing down. I keep telling myself that, but it never happens. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, for our first story today, Mark Cuban slams Elizabeth Warren. I've got some Twitter reactions and stuff like that he gets her hard, man. But before we get to Twitter, let's go ahead and roll this clip because he just lays it all out, and Elizabeth Warren's already losing, polling huge, and let's just watch.
Mark Cuban is here. He has been a capitalist his whole life, and he actually started with nothing and became a billionaire because of hard work and just smarts.
And luck.
And luck. There's always luck, of course. So tell me about that. What do you think about how 2020 is shaping up?
Look, I'm never against open discourse. That's what makes this country great. People being able to convey their opinions. Now, I'm not going to agree with all of them. Medicare for all, I believe health care is a right, but you're not going to all of a sudden create an environment. Well, let's just talk about her plan, right?
Yeah. You had a Twitter battle with her.
Yeah, not even with her, right? I think she just let me go. But if you look at her plan, there's just things that just have no chance of passing, and things that just don't make sense. Part of her plan says employers will take the money that we were paying for insurance and put that into the payment for Medicare for all for their employees. Now, she had the choice of saying, let's increase payroll taxes by a certain amount, which would have been the more viable way. But what she chose was something called a head tax, which says for my companies, any company that has more than 50 employees, rather than paying a higher payroll tax, we're going to charge you the average of the last 3 years plus an inflator each year for each one of your employees. Now, that means that in her mind that we'll be paying $7,500 to pick a number per year per employee. Now, for somebody who's making $200,000 a year, okay, that's not bad. But what's the impact on someone who's making $10 an hour or $12 an hour or $30,000 a year? Right. If you have to hire somebody and the payroll cost is, instead of 6.12% or whatever it is, right, you're having to pay $7,500 per year, you're going to have second thoughts.
Slow hiring.
Right, you're going to have second thoughts about hiring that person. Even worse, as you evolve into her plan, you're going to see companies cut payroll benefits because they know if they push their costs down leading into the plan for the calculations, it's going to cost them less per employee, and that's going to create additional problems.
Right.
It's just not thought out.
Because their Cadillac plans go up.
Well, yeah, look, for the Dallas Mavericks, it cost me, for a family of four, we self-insure, and my insurance costs are $29,900 per year. But I'm okay with that because our insurance is great, and it's a great premium for our employees. Under Medicare for all, they're going to take a huge step back in what they get. And like to your point with unions, for their Cadillac plans, you're going to have a lot of people that are very upset that Medicare for all doesn't provide the quality of care that they're used to. And that's going to create huge transitional problems.
Tom Steyer tweeted at you, only one person here is diverting attention from reality, at Mark Cuban.
Right.
And the reality is that we need a wealth tax, according to Tom Steyer.
Look, I'm not opposed to a wealth tax if it gets the job done. The one thing that I'm opposed to is wasting my money. Again, I'll say it again. Businesses cannot survive if if there's social unrest in our communities. If you can't open the store, you can't do business.
But is a wealth tax really going to pay for all of these plans?
No, of course not.
That's the problem. It's like you say it's a wealth tax, or they say it's a wealth tax just on the top 1%.
Right.
You're going to have to raise taxes on everybody.
Well, yeah, of course you will. But I don't look at the wealth tax in a vacuum, right? It's part of a bigger tax. And of course, they're going to try to tax everybody as much as they can. The question is, how do you spend it, and what kind of results do you get?
Taxes. They have this cartoonish idea that you're sitting on billions of dollars in cash. They don't realize it's an asset.
Yeah, no,
and when you tax the asset, you're going to affect the value of that.
So I sent an email to one of the economists that were listed in her plan, and I asked that very question because I did the math for myself. Look, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and I thank goodness every day how blessed I am. But I did the math, and her 6% wealth tax would require me to pay more after the first year and a half than I have in cash. And so I sent an email to one of the economists, and I said, look, did you guys take into consideration liquidity when you defined your wealth tax and modeled it out?
That's a good question.
And they said no. So what I think would happen is if you're forced to sell off assets and everybody in a similar situation is forced to sell off assets, then you'll see something like we saw in the 80s where the Japanese and foreign investors will come in. So you'll see Saudi Arabia and foreign entities come in and just buy up everything because there's
Elizabeth Warren is counting on China to bail out or bail out.
Or Saudi Arabia, right?
Well, you make a good point, because the other day Bernie Sanders said there should be no billionaires.
Yeah.
There should be. I mean, what do we want? Do we want the billionaires to go to Europe, to go to China? I mean, already
look, I'm not leaving. No matter how much you tax me, I'm not leaving this country, right?
But
so I don't care.
It's immoral for billionaires.
Yeah, look. Everybody's getting very Trumpian these days, right? Donald Trump was brilliant at looking at his base and saying, what group of people are they not going to care about that I can pick on? Now Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have picked up that skill, right? And they said, billionaires, our base, let's throw them under the bus because no one's going to stand up and support them. So, Elizabeth Warren is becoming very Trumpian, and she's taking a big page out of the Trump playbook.
Do you think she's going to be the candidate?
No. No,
You're not.
I don't. No.
Who do you think is going to be the candidate?
I don't know. I think, I would say her and Bernie will split the same audience, and so I don't know at this point in time.
Boom. There you go. There you go. There you go. He's 100% right. I mean, what he lays out is effectively what's wrong with, Europe's Medicare for all. Every single country, almost every single country, has some sort of the people get Medicare for all. Some of them get public housing. They get all kinds of different stuff instead of just a basic UBI, and then capitalism doesn't start at zero, starts at 1,000, and you get to work your way up. That's not the way it is. You're going to have long lines. It's just the way it is. When you have a government bureaucracy running something, it is not efficient. And just because you don't have to pay anything out of pocket when you go there does not make it a better thing. It doesn't. A lot of the times the healthcare is worse. It's less incentivized. Doctors don't have to really be that good because there's no competition. A lot of people don't get to pick and choose how much money they get. Like a top tier surgeon can't go and get a top tier paying salary because, well, all the surgeons cost the same now because the government's not going to allow that to happen. They're not going to pay one person more than the other, right? Even if they're better. So, and he just goes on to and how people are going to have to pay so much more out of pocket to the point to where you're not making much. The government taxes you so heavily that you can't get a leg up any other way. And he just does a really good job of just slamming her there because she's right. And Andrew Yang's made a lot of these same points, like on Dave Rubin. He made a small point like this. I just want to show this clip real quick.
Yes, and the biggest burden on you is healthcare. It's like I've been an employer, and guess what? Like if you put me in a position where my incentives are to make everyone a temp, and that if I hire someone full time, then it's going to take my cost of hiring that person up 20%, then I'm going to hire fewer people. It's like you have a small team, you're like, sure, I'm going to pay for you all. And then the team grows and you're like, wait a minute, do these numbers work out? And the worst part is you make the decision and then your healthcare costs just keep getting dialed up and up every year at several times the cost of inflation. And what it does, it discourages hiring growth. The last thing you want to do is make it harder to hire people, harder to change jobs, harder to start businesses, and that's what our current healthcare system.
All right, there you go. So he's echoing the same thing. People who are smart, who know the math, who are, who know American business, understands you can't just delete 13% of the economy and put them on a government bureaucracy payroll. It's just not the way. It's not going to work, and people don't want that. They really don't. You can be far left, Democratic socialist or whatever. You can be a hardcore Bernie bro, but the fact of the matter is, people just don't want that. Look at the milquetoast Obamacare that got rolled out, and he was a popular president, and people of his own party, people in the streets, did not want it. You know why? Because the only way he could pay for it is by taxing people who didn't get onto it. That's crazy. They took your taxes from you at the end of the year if you didn't enroll in Obamacare or some sort of medical stuff, just so they could say that, look, we've got this many people back on health coverage. Yeah, you did it with a gun to our head. You know what I mean? And that's similar to what Elizabeth Warren's saying, but to a far extreme to where the mandate would destroy a sector of the American populate. And anyway, let's just go read some of Mark Cuban's tweets. A lot of people know how I feel about the Medicare for all thing. As much as it seems like a corporate talking point, you do want Medicare for all who want to, a Medicare with a choice. You know what I mean? Like, if you should have to have a bureaucratic Medicare system that everybody pays into, and if you happen to lose your job, or your business fails, or you happen to fall in hard times, yeah, you can go to the doctor without having to go bankrupt. That should be a thing, 100%. But you don't then get to go, okay, all these huge businesses, not even huge businesses, small businesses. There's a lot of small insurance companies too. My aunt owns an insurance company, and she is the only employee there. It's her company, like you just eliminate, you click a button, you delete all of that. There is not something in place to transition those people into the bureaucracy or into any other sort of job. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be a health insurer and all of a sudden now your job's gone and you have to get a job as a car insurer. You know what I mean? It's what she proposes is not realistic, and her polling numbers are showing that. But Mark Cuban takes to Twitter and he says, the reality for Warren is that this is as much to divert attention from her income and net worth as anything else other than Steyer. She is the wealthiest of all the Democratic candidates by far. This is going to be chaos in the markets. Everyone has to liquidate that's true. But anyway, according to her filing, she made $900K last year, which means her family earns more than 2 times the amount needed to be a 1%er. She said 25.5% of that in taxes, which is less than the percent I paid in taxes, which is 29.85. So she always wants to mock Andrew Yang's talking points about how the corporate elites and people with the 1%ers don't pay their fair share in taxes, but she's not paying her fair share in taxes. And in fact, she gets a lot of subsidies from the government. A lot of her meals are paid for. A lot of her housing is paid for while she's in Washington. A lot of her travel expenses are paid for because she's a national politician. And it's sickening. Did you see the rot go so deep? It's somebody who's just a mouthpiece for because the Democratic establishment knows that people like outsiders. They don't want the establishment. She's just an establishment person masquerading as Bernie or Yang or Tulsi, and it's sad and it's so obvious. And she folds every time somebody asks her a question about it. Just like with Joe Biden having his son on a Ukrainian, giving his son a job with a Ukraine company just because his last name is Biden. They asked her if she'd let her daughter do that. She was like, no, and then she realized that she's already done that, so she can't. She had to walk back that, and it's so sad, man. That's the reason why her polling is just dropping. People like Yang and Tulsi are moving up. Forbes says her net worth is $12 million. That's being rich, filthy rich. I'm sure it's richer than she ever imagined she would be. Good for her. She earned it. She puts her millions above the threshold for being part of the richest 1% in net worth of our country. Yes, you earned that money. Hey, good for you. You know what I'm saying? But don't sit here one day saying that we're going to tax all these people. We're going to tax all these people, these filthy, filthy rich people, and they're a burden to society. When you're one of those people, call it the way it is. Stop. You're a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's exactly what you are, Elizabeth Warren. So, anyway, you can quote me on that. So here's a link to where she is. Damn, son. She's living that life. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Okay. All right, Elizabeth. So, and good for her for wanting to provide care for all, but she has several fundamental issues in her plan. She needs quite a few things to pass Congress in order for any of it to work. Is it realistic to think any of it will pass, let alone all of it? Exactly. Same thing will happen with Obamacare. The initial plan he had proposed would have been fine, would have been okay. It wouldn't have uprooted all of insurers or anything like that. You would have been able to keep your doctor. You would have been able to keep the same Medicare or medicine from the same pharmaceutical manufacturer. You would have been able to do all of that, except for the Republicans obviously didn't want that, and they were gridlocking back then, and they were technically the real bad guys and politics, and they watered it down just so they could say, oh, look, see, it doesn't work. But yeah, and he goes on to so you guys can read this if you want. It just lays it all out and why it's just a crazy freaking plan, man, a crazy plan. Where's the next one at? Can we get to the next one? I guess not. Oh, well. I guess it's just all... Okay, yeah, he split it in half. Okay, there you go, guys. So, to provide a frame of reference, here's a timeline for Affordable Care Act. Yeah, hey, I already made that reference. Good one, Mark. See, great minds think alike. So, let's be real. Elizabeth Warren probably isn't the smartest of all the candidates. Intellectually, she knows she is misleading the public. That the chances of getting all necessary line items she needs for Medicare for All approved within 4 years are nearly impossible. And the whole thing about Elizabeth Warren is she just wants to do that so she can, the way she's laying out her Medicare for All plan is specifically designed so that nobody, if she gets to the general or later on the primaries, nobody can attack her for her Medicare for All taxes falling on the middle class. She's done this mental gymnastics, these gymnastics on paper to show that the middle class will not be taxed, and it's all on it's burdened onto the rich and the poor. Believe it or not, the poor has to, because she says that the poor disproportionately sees doctors more often. That's because they have to eat horrible food because they can't afford, to eat right because they don't have enough money. You try going to the grocery store with $100, making it last for a few weeks, and you getting all fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. You can't do it. You can't do it. You have to get stuff that are frozen. A lot of times they're frozen items and they're bad for you, and you have to make things last. And Mark finishes by saying, I'm fine with paying more taxes. I've said it for years on blogmaverick.com, but the senator is like every other candidate. She is selling shiny objects to divert attention from reality. Haven't we had enough of that from the real Donald Trump? Bam! He explodes her right there, boy. She just blew up like a ID, you know what I'm saying? Dang. But Mark is right, for the most part, people who do earn their money, they earn it. They shouldn't be taxed all the way down towards their middle class. I do also believe that, if you have $50 billion and you get $25 billion taken away, well, you're still a billionaire, right? But at the same time, you can also make it to where that billionaires do pay their fair share of taxes, because it's not just the fact that they don't pay their fair share of taxes by choice. It's that the system allows them to they create loopholes purposely for the rich so they don't have to pay any taxes. And Elizabeth Warren's not trying to unroot all of those. She's just trying to make it a mandate and overtax. I mean, I'm for taxing the rich more. They definitely need to pay their fair share. But their fair share, you know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And to sit here and penalize people who's made money, not that I'm trying to, it sounds like I'm defending billionaires, and I'm really not. But at the end of the day, it only falls on billionaires. It only falls on poor people, her plan. And it's not right. That's where you need to go with somebody like Andrew Yang. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just going to be able to redistribute wealth with a snap of a finger and everything's going to be fine. It's just not the way it works. Not to mention that if you're an employer, like Mark says, imagine it's going to cost this much more money for you to employ this person because of Medicare coverage. Well, you're going to employ less people. So she's going to hurt the economy overall, even without taxing, even if you don't look at the billionaires at all. But they definitely need to pay their fair share. And that's why people like Yang with his democracy dollars getting money out of politics is 100% a good thing. That's the reason why Tulsi's saying that we need to rechange the rules of our democracy so we don't have to fucking deal with this kind of crap is 100%. Even Amy Klobuchar is talking about getting rid of Citizens United back in the debate. Excuse me, I had a burp. But Amy Klobuchar, I give her credit for that, for saying she wants to uproot Citizens United. That legalizes bribery. And Elizabeth Warren's not calling for that. And sadly, I don't think Bernie is either. So, it is what it is. These are my thoughts. I do have a video about Yang coming out here very, very soon. MSNBC kind of made a huge slip up, you know what I'm saying? They kind of proved that Yang can win. So stick around for our second story. And that's all I got for you guys today, or at least for this video. I'll see you guys soon.